Shipyard, the operator track. I have three fantastic human beings with me here tonight, sharing this session about meeting the Nym nodes as a business and community of privacy builders masterclass session. This is the last week of Shipyard, so this is one of the last masterclasses where we actually share a lot of personal experiences and have cool discussions about why is it great to be part of this community and operate nodes. So can you guys shortly introduce yourself before we give the floor over to the presenters? Maybe Serinko, you first as my co-host.
Hey everyone, I'm Serinko. You've probably seen me around in shipyards before, masterclasses. Nym DevRel, and I'm the living bridge between Nym developers and the people who operate the nodes.
Thank you.
And me? I'm Paul Flake, creator of Explore Nym, and I operate some nodes. But yeah, that's about it.
Nice, that was good. Thank you, Matthew. So my name is Yanis. I'm CEO and founder of Noders team. We're professional validators and Web3 developers. We have been supporting Nym since 3 years, I guess. We participated in testnet. We run a bunch of nodes and bunch of gateways and try to be as helpful as possible. We organize events, create different materials, articles, translate stuff, do AMAs and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much. And by the way, I've seen a comment that someone's already missing Sudo from this stream. So Sudo's feeling a bit under the weather, and that's why we're jumping in and making sure that although he cannot be substituted, we try to substitute him with being half as smart and funny as he can be on these streams. So without further ado, Sal, could you share Serinko's presentation? And I'm just going to pass the mic to you, Serinko, so you can properly introduce what the guy's going to talk about.
Cool, sure. Hey everyone again, those of you who came a little bit later. We are in Shipyard 3, level 3, and we continue on operator's track. Those of you who've seen the previous sessions, which I hope is everyone, because we're gonna go rather deep. We're gonna go into nitty-gritty stuff and present the actual nodes, the people behind them. But we've had before several presentations on how is it, what Mixnet is, how it works, what's the unique tech about it, what solutions it brings for users' privacy. And one of the main questions in my first presentation which came up was, cool, but why would I run a node? And that is a question which has been answered in that very presentation as well. But maybe we will repeat it today, the answer to that, in more human face kind of type of answer. Maybe Paul, there are these chats coming up. Sorry. Paul, the next slide, please. We've addressed a few reasons why to run a node. On my slides completely disappeared. Paul, next. Cool. And you can imagine, you can use your imagination for endless of reasons. We definitely don't want to do some type of boxes of like which kind of operators falls into which box of why to run a node. But to maybe distinguish some main reasons to help you, make your decisions whether you want to run a Nym node or not. Definitely one of them on top is care for humanity. I hope that all of you have seen a brilliant talk between Rose from DarkFi and Jaya, hosted by Sudo, just yesterday about what privacy means, how we need to fill the narrative with real solutions and imaginary instead of just having the dystopia out there or like fear of surveillance. So that's the number one point, is to bring these solutions over dystopia for people who care about that. Another reason to run a Nym node for you can be to join a community of builders. Find souls who are alike of you, create squads, check our visionary track and our community channels, learn stuff together, learn something new, and develop yourself, progress yourself. Next one, which is not less important, is to run nodes as business. Running Nym node is rewarded. It's a niche tech in kind of early stage. Of course, all that brings some risk. We're also gonna talk about it today. if you believe in the tech and in the community, in the developers and in the mission, risk might be more rewarded than just do something else, something boring. Last but not least, you might find it as fun. We all want to do something which we are passionate about, and some people might be just passionate about this type of tech, privacy, running nodes. With that said, if you have one of these reasons, and you maybe don't find other reasons that important or that fitting to you, that's completely fine. But interesting thing is the dynamic where you're actually gonna play an important role in all of them. So if I would make an example, when Alice wants to do something about impacting the direction of current internet surveillance and the whole design, hence she decides to run a node to maybe shift that direction a little bit into privacy, decentralized oriented internet, support human freedom, doing something good, as somebody would say. Then we got Bob, and Bob has a lot of tech skills, and he's got maybe a team or some experience with doing endeavors like a interpreter, running a business. So he starts a business entity and runs nodes as business. The good thing about that is that it's not one or the other, because by Alice doing that for her reasons and Bob doing that for his reasons, they all, as a side thing, or not as a side thing, but like next to their main reason, all of them run infrastructure which allows for bigger decentralization, privacy, and censorship-resistant internet. They all make rewards. They are part of community where they learn something from each other, and perhaps, they have some fun or they do something passionate. We've had yesterday also a presentation from our node operators from Latin America, being hosted by my colleague Daniel from Nym project. They were showing how and why to run nodes in order to make rewards and support other projects with the rewards they're making. Not Nym-related projects, but they would use those rewards for making the profit for something else as under category doing good. Today we have guests which we've already introduced, Ponflake and Yanis, and I'll give word to each of them to see where are they, what is their reasoning, basically to share their why, and hopefully also some know-how to run nodes, what's behind that, what was their reasoning, and where kind of they would fit, what they would suggest, and what they learned on their journey. Each of them, starting from Ponflake and after Yanis, will share on their own what they want to share on these questions, and then we go into some questions I have prepared, and of course in the end we'll have Q&A. So with that said, that's all from my introduction into today's chat with the noders themselves, or with the people running the nodes. And Ponflake, to you.
Okay, so yeah, I joined into the Nym sort of project community back in the first shipyard. And part of the first shipyard, there was a delegations program. And so that's when I first started learning about running a mixed node, find a VPS, all of these things. So yeah, I spun up my first mixed node then, and just became more and more active in the community. As I learned more and more about the project and running mixed nodes, I tried to design things to help the community, problems that I'd come across. So like I built a tool for installing, updating, migrating mixed nodes, multilingual. This is like very helpful. I had a guy just the other day ask about for help with his node, and just by using the tool, it worked out what he'd done and fixed the problem for him. It located like where misplaced files and things and moved them into the right place. So yeah, that's kind of like the direction I took. And out of that came Explore Nym. And then as part of the second delegation program came another mixed node. But really the reason that I started operating the nodes was, well, one, to learn, but two, to provide the infrastructure to the area where I live. Not so much for profit, more just because there's a lot of internet censorship in Indonesia. So I just saw it as a need to sort of provide the network in this area. As I went down more of a decentralized route, it's not so profitable when you're running mixed nodes, and the VPSs tend to be a lot more expensive if you don't go with like centralized VPS provider like, you know, Vulture or Google, or it tends to be a bit more expensive. So the nodes that I run, they don't, I wouldn't call them profitable, but they provide, you know, the network to areas that didn't have any. Currently, I'm in Indonesia and Thailand. So that's more the reasoning as to why I wanted to operate the nodes. I've also, I had a lot of fun with gateways and network requesters, and I was back in the original shipyard. I was watching YouTube directly through the mixednet, just running my entire laptop internet connection through the mixednet, which was fun. So just playing with it, and that's kind of, you know, so if there's someone that's like, maybe they want to do it as a hobby, they just want to play with the network and spin up a mixed node, then that's also a good reason to be part of the community and provide it. It helps other people, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be for profit. Obviously, there's ways you can definitely be profitable, and I'm sure we'll discuss that a bit later. But now I'm just continuing to develop Explore Nym and provide, you know, the idea being that it was very difficult for someone coming to the project to work out where to delegate. Looking in an Explorer, yeah, you can see like, oh, okay, their saturation's high, but it's it can be a little bit confusing as to how many rewards and things that the delegator is going to get. It's unless you have deep understanding of the tokenomics and how the infrastructure works, it can be difficult to work out which node is going to give you a higher return on your delegation. So that's kind of more the idea, is so that you can see, actually, this node that looks really good in the Explorer doesn't give as much rewards as the other one, which doesn't look as good. I'm currently building, and I have already delegated from within Explore Nym in the development side of things. So there are some delegations on people's servers that are 1 unim, 1 millionth of a nym. That was me testing it. But yeah, so there's lots of, I'm just working on things that support the community, and I'm not really coming from a perspective of trying to make the most money from running a mixed node. I think, is there anything else, Serinko? I think.
Oh, if you don't have anything else to add now, I'll give a word to Yanis, and then we will come to some questions which we have now.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, guys. Hi again. So basically, I guess I'm a good example of a guy who had at least no idea about tech, but was curious enough, and having come to crypto space in 2017, it took me 7 years of different experiments. I was doing lots of different stuff, and during all these 3 years, I was really curious how to see, how blockchain looks and operates from inside, because just buying tokens, staking tokens, doing some stuff with the NFTs and so on and so forth is definitely kind of fun. but I was kind of curious to see how it really kind of I wanted to touch it from inside. So I found out about testnets, and actually the first testnet I participated in was of Nym. It was 2021, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I started running a node in testnet for Nym and also in a bunch of different other projects. After several months, I kind of established a team, and we have grown since then to a kind of decent project. We're called Noders team. For the time being, we run mainnet nodes for like approximately, I think, 39 blockchains at the moment. We also participate in dozens of different testnets, and we actually became sort of a contributing team. So we try to be as helpful as possible to different projects, and we contribute both in terms of tech development and also in terms of marketing, organizing events, and all kind of stuff. So I participated in, going back to Nym, so I participated in Nym testnets, then shipyards, and then shitloads of different other stuff. As I mentioned before, we run 5 nodes and 7 gateways since the mainnet launch, basically. I agree with that. I would definitely agree with Matthew. It is not the most profitable business at the moment, at least. But we all the time have to keep in mind that basically the costs are quite low anyways. And I think that if somebody is really impressed with the tech that Nym is building, and I'm definitely impressed about it. And now going back to the 4 reasons that were mentioned, basically I would say that I'm in all 4 categories. So it was definitely fun to find out and participate as a node operator. Definitely love the idea. I really think that Nym is one of the few maybe projects out of thousands of projects in crypto space, which is really valuable to the humanity in general, to each and every one of us. Okay, we have different countries which are a bit more strict than some other, like for example, Indonesia or China would be, I would say, maybe the most kind of extreme examples. But overall, I mean, we definitely can see that this tech is really needed. That we as a kind of simple human beings, we just have to protect ourselves, and we can contribute just a little bit maybe to projects like Nym, because running like one node costs like what, couple of like what, $20 or something, depends on where you rent your server, but definitely it's not like a huge amount of money. And if let's say you don't have huge delegation at the moment, not that many tokens that you can stake by yourself, and you can maybe earn like $10 and spend $20 on the infrastructure. I mean, come on, it's still okay. It's not that you have to to pay thousands of dollars. That's one thing. Another one is that we also have to keep in mind that it's also a matter of price of the token. Obviously, Nym token hasn't been doing that well, but I mean that's definitely a bear market. So I mean most of the crypto hasn't been doing that well during the last couple of years. So I really think that all of you guys who are here in shipyard, and you have already expressed interest in Nym, and you most likely believe in the brightest future of the project. I think that's it's definitely worth running one node. Why not? It's not that easy. It's not that difficult. It's actually quite easy, to run it, to establish it. I mean, it's like it will take you like what, 10, maybe 20 minutes. You can all the time, get some support. The installation guides are really kind of clear. So I would definitely encourage each one of you to go and just make an experiment for yourself. Just rent one server, install one node, see how it goes, have fun. Maybe you can attract some kind of your friends to delegate your node. Maybe you can get a delegation from Nym Foundation. And maybe at the moment right now, when the token price is like at 15 cents, it might not be that profitable, but it might get a bit more profitable later on. Again, we're all here, for the long term, and we, especially like me and my team, we have been supporting Nym because we really believe that this is a unique technology that is really needed for the humanity, and that's why we're kind of doing our best to support it as much as possible. I would say that would be my talk on Nym infrastructure nodes. Unless you have any questions, then I would say I'm done.
All right, I'll stay with you, Yanis. Thank you very much. I think you touch up on some very important topics, and I'll connect my questions to that, because basically we are in bear market, and the interesting thing is that the bear market washes usually away anything which is there just for kind of pump and dump, and we are here. And as many things in industry and based on staking and stuff, these aren't the golden times, especially given this is a startup and we are right on the gate of the main product being shipped, right? So there is obviously certain risk when you taken part in operating nodes or any sort of infrastructure which hasn't shipped the main product yet. However, we are about to put out generic Nym Mixnet for the entire system, and especially Nym VPN, which will be both of these, not only for desktop, also for Android and iOS. So hopefully there is, we can rely on the bet on humanity kind of feeds back to the loop of the bet on the rewards in the future if people believe in that. And then, it's self-fulfilling loop where more and better nodes we run, then more likely also this will ship into the decentralized network, which will actually bring the people using that and bring the rewards, which we by far didn't hit the full potential of the usage. But connected question to that, you said that you run 5 nodes and 7 gateways at Nym, and I wonder, how would you say that? I would have 2 questions. Like, how would you say that your nodes and gateways are maybe, distinguishable from the others, or what made them different, if anything? And second, from your experience of running nodes at Nym and nodes at multiple other projects, how would you say that the operator industry has matured over the years, especially given that we are in a bear market? How does this bear market kind of hygiene help, and what makes, what do we see in a Web3 industry according to?
Okay, so you're definitely right about the bear market, and that's actually the beauty of Nym, that it has been building, during the worst, time, and the bear market, well, hopefully, is somewhat getting, close to an end. And well, we hope that the bull market will start next year after the halving. And so yeah, I think that it's really important to kind of contribute really to projects who are building now, during the worst times. And again, I mean, looking at every kind of second, oh my god, how much I have earned from my node or whatever. I mean, it's silly and it's quite stupid. And well, I don't think that's. I think that's actually the worst strategy to do. But people, I mean, who now are members of Shipyard. Obviously, they are a bit smarter than the majority of people, and definitely, cooperating with the projects like Nym in this stage, I think it's super important. And again, I mean, establishing a node like right now would be maybe not that profitable at the moment, but again, you would be able, you would have, more time, until the bull market starts, to attract more capital, stake on your node and so on and so forth. So yeah, bear market is good. It's definitely vanishes lots of pump and dump schemes and lots of kind of bad actors. And we all the guys who are here today definitely are the right people to build cool projects for the time when the bull market comes. That's the answer, I guess, for one project. Yeah, you asked about how kind of Nym nodes, running Nym nodes correlates to other projects. Well, you see, it's really, well, first of all, I mean, mixed nodes. They're not really a blockchain node because it's a kind of a bit different type of architecture and a different type of tech. So the main difference, I would say, is that, well, 99% of validators nodes, they don't have a cap. So you can keep on building, like, we can keep on sustaining only one node, and you can keep on attracting more capital on that. Nym is a different story. It's definitely quite easy, to run the infrastructure. It's really difficult, I would say, to distinguish yourself from other node runners. I'm kind of trying to answer both questions at the same time. Well, obviously, I mean, we don't have, that much of marketing tools, let's say, to distinguish ourselves. Obviously, one thing is that you can just establish your nodes in different countries and try to establish mostly in the remote areas. The other thing is really important is to make updates as soon as and as fast as possible. Basically, usually our team we're doing updates within a couple of hours after they have been released. While we have seen that there are lots of mixed node runners that haven't updated their nodes since half a year or something, which is kind of terrible. Obviously, well, you do have the commission that you can set, but I would say that overall, I mean, in most of the blockchains now the commission of 5% is sort of a standard. Sometimes it can get 7-10% maybe, but I mean, if you have 5, then you definitely in a good position. So yeah, that I guess would be it. So that's not that many points how we can distinguish ourselves. So just for us, it's not about kind of competing with other nodes. We do understand that some people might have more friends, or kind of have maybe some funds supporting them, and they would delegate to their nodes. But we're doing what we're doing because we really kind of think that this infrastructure is needed. As I mentioned before, we are basically running it with our own money. It's not that profitable for us, but we kind of feel satisfaction when we understand that our small contribution, even if it's small, but I mean it's a contribution. And if most of, I mean at least some people in the society will start thinking in this way, and definitely people like us, all of you guys, we all contribute a little bit, and we just build together something which is really cool and needed to everybody. So yeah, that would be it. Did I answer questions, or do you want me to clarify? Maybe.
Super good question, Serinko, but you had a 3-in-1 question.
Yeah, it was a bit complex.
yeah. But I wanted to just chime in on this fact that actually I also believe that the bear market is for building. A bull market, when people go crazy, then it's so much noise and so much things happening that basically it's the crypto seasons. If you look at it, like it's when it's the hardest, that's when it's the most valuable to build things and learn new things and start maybe a new mixed nodes. It's still not the crazy bull market, so there's still time to sort of get into operating a node well. And I just want to emphasize that nobody is late. Who's seeing this live, you guys are for sure not late. It's super easy to learn, super easy to sort of get into it, and there's so many people who can help you with how to run it better or what to do. And with that, I want to actually ask you, Pamphlet, a question which is from our audience, from Papu. Thanks for, again, the great questions, because I know that you kind of sussed around a lot this question. He's asking, can you help us choose a good VPS? What at all to look at? And I think you're the right person to answer this question.
Okay, that's kind of a broad question. It depends what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to, make money or support decentralization. When I first started out, I found that you can run a mixed node on Amazon for $3 a month. Okay. However, I quickly also learned that wasn't really the vision, right? So it's not easy, and I've wasted a lot of money finding providers, okay? Because a lot of the time in decentralized countries, like areas that aren't currently being used, there'll be a provider and they'll list as a provider, and you order, and then they haven't got IPv6 or and these can be like big problems. Also, they'll list that they have these locations, but really it's just for Google search engine. It's to get them in the search engine. They're just saying that location. The servers are running in, say, Germany, and they'll list as like Ghana in Africa. So it requires a bit of research. One suggestion is just jump on ChatGPT. That ChatGPT usually knows quite well where VPS providers are. But yeah, it really depends on what your aim is. If you want to go cheap, you can go with like an Amazon or a
Contabo.
Contabo.
It's a bit shitty, but I mean,
Contabo I don't really like. I mean, I have 5 servers with Contabo.
Yeah, you said that you said the cheap version, so yeah, Contabo is, I guess, one of the cheapest.
Yeah, but it locks you in. So yeah, as I said, like Amazon, like $3 a month. If you know what you're looking for and you want to go cheap as possible, it's so centralized, it's not worth it. Then you've got like the Vulture and the sort of well-known ones that everyone's using. They pull you into like a set price, right? So you're going to be paying like $10, $15 to $20 a month for their package. But you know that they're going to work and they're very simple to work with. So for someone who is just getting started, something like that is probably the best way to go. Now, I did see a thing saying based on IP. Sorry, read in chat. Yeah, it depends what the real thing is, it depends what your aim is. If you are just coming to the project and you want to dip your foot in the water, then you want to look at the current ones that are being used, aim for something lower end of that, but a well-known provider. If you're looking to really decentralize, then you want to go for something that no one's ever heard of. But with that comes risks that you might hire it for a month and then customer support's like, no, we don't have IPv6, So there's a bit of a risk there. You can search, you can look on their website, but yeah.
Can I add something, which is, I think, a good point. I mean, for people who haven't ever run a node at all, I think that actually again, because it's a bear market and it's a good point where you can really experiment. And what Matty is also kind of saying now is that if you just trying to test the water, you can just go and rent something just to kind of get yourself a bit of experience. And again, because it's a bear market, so it's it gives a bit more of a kind of room and space to make mistakes, which is okay sometimes. Why not? You can run a node, it might not work well. You can kind of fix it later on. You can rent maybe one server at Hessner, then you find out that maybe there is Contabo inter-server and it's a bit cheaper, and so on and so forth. So I mean, I would say that the general. The best advice I could give, to people in crypto in general is that you have to take responsibility for your actions, first of all, and that you have to be, proactive all the time. You have to not only wait, for someone to tell you, oh my God, you have to go there and rent it for $3 or $5 or whatever, but also go do your own research. I mean, the list of usually used, providers, Vulture, Hessner, Contabo, Interserver, Amazon, DigitalOceans. I mean, it's not a big secret. Go ahead, rent one server, $5, $10, come on, 20. It's not a big. I mean, I hope it's not such a big amount of money for you guys. Experiment with that amount is definitely worth it.
I agree with everything's been said here, and I'll add a little bit as well. You can look, as was said, you can look from different angles on node operation and why you run node, right? For some people, it might be a question of, I want to support word privacy and I want to remain anonymous myself as well. Then your main deal will be to find providers which you can pay with crypto. If you look more for decentralization, or even if not, don't forget that how to operate node, you need to, to operate a good node, you want to become part of ActiveSet. Watch our previous videos. We will share links in the chat and down below on what that means, how we become part of ActiveSet, because you also need, unless you hold about nearly 1 million Nym tokens, you will not make the stake saturation alone. And no one expects that make the stake saturation alone by yourself. Therefore, you will also need other users who will delegate on top of your node. So that comes to decentralization of the people on each node. That means that if you want to save money and you're going to start on AWS, Google, or something like that, Podflake here presented another presentation, his tool, Explore Nym, with also hooks, how to stake on a node and what to look after. And if the users are well educated, they will see that you're running it on some of these platforms, that your node is running on AWS, being hosted in Germany, that you might be more likely to not get delegated upon because users will be like, well, I don't want to support that. They might be also looking for some other nodes, which also will have higher likelihood to get Nym core team delegation on top of them, because we want to incentivize and support nodes which are outside of one particular areas, especially outside of Europe. and 2 outside of those very centralized service providers. So we want to keep that in mind. And last thing, but not least, we are undergoing through big changes in the software and smooshing all the nodes together. That's called Project Smoosh. Operation Smoosh. That sounds even better. However, I didn't make the name. I can change the name. I'm too small of a player. Project Smoosh. I'm sharing here. Please drop it to the chat, somebody. A link to what that means. That means that we going into open exit gateway, and it'll be much higher incentivized, perhaps even required for all the nodes in the future to have exit gateway functionality. So this is one of the things Yanis was saying about we will all have to do our own and share together research on which VPS are actually better for running an exit gateway, because all of a sudden you will have to have much more work on communicating with your provider, right? We shared some resources from Tor community, from Tor project about what it all means. We all will have to do some legal research and all that type of stuff. So all of a sudden, for having bigger privacy and allow for more, wider usage of the mixnet, we will also have to do more work, more research, and kind of like look into more points on what to take care of when running nodes.
One thing to add on to the end is that you shouldn't be worried, right? If you pick the wrong VPS provider, it doesn't matter. You got your files in your VPS, you download them, you upload them to the next VPS. You can switch VPS every day. It's okay. So don't, like Yanis said, just try it for a month.
Yeah, we even have a direct command in our maintenance page on also /operators, where it's with one command you move everything from one VPS to the other, because they're special copy SCP-3, and you don't even have to download, upload. You just run it from one to the other, and everything's great.
And you did kind of, all of you touched on this, but there's a question related to this topic still, that can the network know what VPS is someone using to operate a mixed node? Who wants to answer that?
Yes, 100%.
Matthew.
Your IP address. The Nym binary actually opens up sort of like an API. It can be called and it brings back data, so you can see how many cores the server's running, how much RAM the server's got. Obviously, that's just going to be the VM, so it's not going to spy, but what the binary shows. So the environment the binary is running in, it's going to release the information on that binary, and then the IP address. Well, yeah, you can use a geo IP locator and figure out where the server's running. So I would say it gives the network kind of knows.
And for those who want to kind of know how to differentiate or how to decentralize a network and what kind of VPS provider is running currently the majority of nodes, there's a funky Grafana dashboard developed by the NTV crew, and we're going to be sharing a link, so you can also already see, what VPS providers the mixed node operators are using currently. That's a nice pie chart in there. Nice one. Thank you so much for the answers. Let's have a look. Okay, there's a question about the upcoming delegation program. Do you want to address that, Serinko, quickly, or should we leave that to later?
There's been a lot of those come in, and of course it's a itchy topic, and it's like it's a FOMO a little bit. There is nothing. There is no FOMO. FOMO is a good, like a normal thing. Like, it's a good thing. It's like you're looking forward to meet somebody you didn't see for a long time. That type of FOMO. And then you meet them and it's great.
Yeah, that's a good one. We haven't seen any delegation for so long ever. We miss them so much. We're gonna be so happy to meet them. I mean, after such a long time.
Yeah, you gotta meet them very soon. However, I would want to say a few things. None of you watching live haven't missed anything. Okay, there is yesterday being put some parameters and some announcement. However, we haven't started to delegate on anyone. You are not missing on nothing, and we will do so We'll put out more information by the end of this week. Stay tuned for that. It will be everything clear rather than me kind of shooting from my hip and then repeating. We still tweaking in kind of the last parameters because we do want, and whatever's gonna happen with delegation or not, we do want as many operators to run exit gateways as possible. We will do anything possible to support them as well. However, there is, we need to align ourselves with the development of the tech, and I would already go very deep on that. Stay tuned. We will share that by the end of the week, and I think that's about the delegation program. It is coming, and none of you is late.
In Sudo's words, soon TM.
Yeah, if you're watching this in 2024, you did miss out.
Also, good point. Thank you, Pamphlet, for that point. Yes, very, very important. All right. There's another question here which I see in the chat, but I might ask for clarification on this from you, Papu, because you ask how much has consistently running Nym infra helped your nodes? What I mean, I guess what he means, or how I understand this question, how important is for a mixed node operator to sort of keep the same node running forever and ever, or you just, if you mess up like a VPS provider, or if you want to change, I don't know, the bond amount or something, like, can you change it as you go along? Maybe it's a question for you, Yanais, like with that amount of node operation
For me?
experience. Yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, definitely. Well, actually, yeah. So basically, as far as I remember, like, I mean, when the mixed nodes kind of launch, you couldn't really change your bonding amount. But now, as far as I know, you can kind of add or remove some stacks, so it's getting a bit, so it's becoming a bit more comfortable in a way. So yeah, it's definitely getting better.
Thank you.
One thing to note just briefly is as we came, like me and Yanis have both been here quite a long time, right? And we've seen the software evolve, the team's constantly building. Sometimes the technical documentation can't keep up quick enough. So one thing I noticed, like I've put in pull requests before to update like mixed node, like technical documentation. So it's good if the community jumps on this, but if someone has a problem, we've got Smoosh coming through. If someone runs into a problem, it's always good to bring it up to the community so we can all help each other. And just a note on that, yeah, the software's evolved very fast, and sometimes it's the documentation's not always there and you'll run into problems. But if you jump into the social channels, someone will have already found a fix to it or be able to help you find a fix. But definitely just be mindful that it might not just be as simple as following the latest 10 steps, and you may still run into a problem, but someone will be there to help you.
I'll maybe add here, this is completely true. Until a few months ago, Max, who is now running the Builders track, doing Hackathon, was doing all that alone. Well, Nym got another person who's helping with that. So here we go. I hope that there'll be more and more improvement on that side, and I'll do everything possible for that. However, sometimes you need to catch up after the release to test also everything yourself and rerun everything possible. So it's not just kind of like, I've heard that there are these changes, so I'll write something about them, right? Like you need to let it go. And then the process of publishing things is not and cannot be, for different reasons, just instant. Of course, we have admin who needs to do review and the type of things. So, be patient also. But as it was said, ask always in the chat if there is anything unclear. And us or anyone else that has been actually pretty lively answers quite quickly. On the question before, just to have kind of TLDR, do not, once you have your node out in Explorer, having it bonded to the blockchain, do not halt that node. Try to keep your node. You can move the whole node somewhere else. Of course, you halt it, you pause it when you upgrade, but don't completely stop it or don't change your bond and start a new one. You'll lose your delegations. So this being said, but I just wanted to repeat that so it resonates and it's crystal clear.
Nice one. Do you want to ask the next question, Serinko? Or should I ask? I have a good question for the end, so maybe you want to ask a more difficult question before I ask easy questions.
Well, okay, maybe then we have 15 minutes now. Okay, let me ask the question, this simple one, and that is, what were kind of like, maybe you can start from Ponflake and then go into Yanis if you want, one by one. What were some like obstacles you would run on your side, right? There's the Nym side. You mentioned sometimes documentation is behind, sometimes things don't work that well, sometimes it takes time to get response and all these things. But what were maybe like difficulties you didn't expect between Nym and you and Nym, and you had to solve, and what could be like the takeaways for the new operators watching this right now?
See, Yanis is already thinking this is a tough one. I actually kind of half answered it with the documentation thing, so we'll go from my perspective. Okay, so the biggest thing is being able to pay for these providers in certain countries can be really difficult. Like we've seen, people get cut off from the SWIFT system, for instance. Like that can give you headaches overnight. So for me, I've had problems in Thailand, problems in Indonesia. So it's a mad rush to like try and solve the issue before your mixed node's dying. Like, but I think that's the biggest problem is you just being able to make sure that the VPS provider doesn't shut down your mixed node.
Yeah, actually, I totally agree. Because like if you try and find some VPS providers in kind of remote areas or small countries, and have some kind of local companies, and well, to be honest, usually the service over there is quite maybe not top quality, to say the least. So it might get a bit tricky. And the things that it's quite usual also that people and operators and servers over there might not even speak English. So if you go to, I think we have cooperated with some, it was actually, I think, a Thailand company, and we just, kind of were trying to use GPS, just to ask some simple questions. And, it made our life, so difficult. And it took us fucking ages, to just put, just simple kind of messages across. So I guess that's Ponflake, but have you finished? Do you have anything to add? Any other kind of problems people can might find? Or? No, that's it.
Just
because I think actually, because I think that's actually
but...
exactly, because I think that overall, I mean, the node running experience is not that difficult. You just have to be a little bit curious. Just go ahead. You would spend like maybe 1-2 hours when you establish your first node, but after that, you're gonna be pam. Like, I mean, it's not difficult. And again, I mean, Nym is not like, I mean, it's sort of in early stages, but I mean, the project is 5 years old, by the way. So, I mean, it's not that, you don't have documentation, or, I mean, nothing works, and so on and so forth. I mean, there are some small kind of, things in the documentation, that has to be kind of improved a little bit. But overall experience is really smooth, I would say. For the most part, everything works properly. I mean, it's actually pretty cool that, the team makes lots of updates and kind of, develops the tech and so on and so forth, which is cool. Okay, you would have, you would have to spend like 10-15 minutes updating your nodes every now and then. Lately, it was, I would say quite often, maybe once per week or something on average. But, I mean, that's not super difficult. So I think that's actually a good thing. It's there is nothing to say, to be honest. Yeah. And believe me, like, by the way, I have to, because like we have participated in shitloads of different testnets and run different mainnets, and there are definitely quite lots of projects even in mainnet stage, and their documentation is so well messed up, and their nodes are going back, and I mean there are definitely way more problems, I would say, in node running in other projects than at Nym, for sure, which is a super good thing.
Thank you. Super
that
good.
Was a difficult, by the way, that was a difficult question.
No. I think that was from an easy bucket, no? I want
to idea here as well.
Go.
I just want to add, I'm watching the chat as it goes about the VPS providers. Like, the community is growing, and we got builders, we got devs, we got operators, we got thinkers, all sorts of people. And the VPS question comes pretty often. And yes, you have some VPS you can pay straight from Bitcoin pretty easy. Maybe that's not your taste. And you don't know how to go about it. We have to also resolve large question in decentralization of internet, which is hardware. So perhaps in the community, we have people who do have more powerful machines and can help each other to set them up in order to be providing for each other, run nodes, and then support the person who runs that hardware, and do that especially in places where perhaps if you put some resources together or something, you replace the vacuum of non-existing VPS provider or the bad quality VPS provider. So I think this is definitely in the beginning going to be more expensive, but perhaps you have easier access to electricity. And instead of mining something, you switch your machine into running a whole bunch of nodes. There is no limit as long as we put practical steps in our imagination.
Yeah, one thing I'll add with when I built the script for installing nodes, updating nodes, all of that, I had that in mind, and that initially grew out of trying to see how much I could go below the minimum requirements listed in the docs, and I managed to bring it right down to like one core, less than 500 meg of RAM, and like you can probably do it on like 5 gigs of storage, which is way below. But you just have to take certain steps. Like you're never going to build it direct from source code, because the things required to compile it, there's not enough resources on the server. But if there are certain scripts out there and stuff that will allow you to pull the binary directly, and all of these things means you can lower that amount, and especially in decentralized locations, it reduces the cost a lot to be able to run only one CPU, 500 meg of RAM. Yeah.
A hot question coming up, gentlemen.
Nice. Eventually, bring it on.
It's time now. Yes, so there's two questions. There's two questions around. Rocio is asking how important it is to know about data laws before running a node in any country, and there was a similar. Yeah, I think this is the one. Maybe I've seen the other one. So it is whoever is thinking on spinning up a mixed node, how much do they know the data laws, and how this might change with the exit gateways?
I take over. I'll start here a little bit from Nym core team, and then you will go from the operator's experience. So there is a Nym node idea, right? Which very soon, in terms of days or weeks, will be soon PM. No deadlines, soon PM. Will be one binary of Nym node. Watch Project Smoosh or Project Smoosh FAQ. Please post the link to the chat to learn about that, because that's where we're heading in terms of days or weeks, soon PM. That means that I can answer what it means for mixed node, and I can answer what it means for exit gateway, but I don't really want to go there, because we will probably need to be able to run both in order to gain any rewards and stabilize the network in very near future. And yes, that exit gateway part of a node, which now is separated gateway and network requester with our new exit policy, will bring certain questions. And as I've said in that presentation, I'm by far don't take it for any advice. I'm not anyhow, legal advisor or lawyer. Also, I don't know what your jurisdictions are. However, it doesn't seem to be nowhere illegal to run exit gateway itself. Of course, you in some jurisdictions are more or less responsible what is running through them to the open internet, and you need to sort it out in the given jurisdiction according to the given laws. We put out the page in nimtech.net/operators/legal/exit gateway. Check it out, and with that we also put out a call out for everyone to be sharing on their own experiences, on their own findings in a new room which we have on metrics to share together and compile like a solid kind of legal advice books from different places, because we can't do that ourselves. We don't have the bandwidth, we don't have the knowledge, and also we're not the operators, right? The community is the operators. But that is an important question. However, maybe Bonflake and Yanis have some more particular experiences on.
Yeah. So go on.
Come on, go. Actually, I can't say much here. I mean, it's so much dependent, on the country, node operator lives in, and so it's really, just you just have to check, for your own, depending on the jurisdiction you are living in, and so on and so forth. I mean, so many different places, so many different rules. I mean, makes no sense, to kind of to go over a couple of them while people might be, just living total different direction, different location. Yeah, it's definitely an important point, I think. But for the time being, I mean, if you haven't run any node so far, I wouldn't be actually thinking even about this stuff. Just running one node might be still okay. It's not a big deal. First of all, we just get accustomed with running nodes, and if let's say I would see that hey, I like this stuff and so forth, then I would just go ahead and check for my own country, how this whole thing kind of works, in terms of laws and so on and so forth. So yeah, nothing to add here. Bonflake, maybe you.
So yeah, it's very basic, right? So if you're running a mixed node technology-wise, okay, I'll preface it. Nym it wants to go decentralized, so none of this will fall under their responsibility. It will fall under the operators of their software. So we all have to do our own research, right? But if you run a mixed node right now, no, the technology is just, it's basically impossible to work out that you're even running a mixed node, right? Because it's just random packets being routed from random locations, and you can't like sniff. I guess it maybe, but no, like running a standard mixed node right now, answer is probably fine anywhere. Do your own research. As far as when Smoosh comes and then we get the exit gateway, like Serinko said, that's a completely different story. However, the way I understand it is you'll still be able to run your mixed node, but you run it as not as a gateway. So problem solved, right? Maybe in your jurisdiction, you can't run an exit gateway, but definitely once you go into that exit gateway mode, that changes a lot of the dynamics of what's happening, because now your server could be seen to be the traffic coming through your server could be seen to be doing something wrong in that jurisdiction. Whereas if you're just running a mixed node, they can't see the traffic. But once you're producing the end product, they can see that. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. Serinko, if you have anything to add.
I'll just add that yes, technically this is completely true, because if you're running a mixed node, your mixed node is sending it to another layer of mixed nodes. We always has 1, 2, 3 hops, or to the final gateway, whatever binaries they work under, it's going to another node. So the mixed node has always everything encrypted and doesn't release it outside to the internet. Hence, US operator cannot be held, also, no US operator actually don't know. You don't see anything what's happening there. You get a bunch of randomized Sphinx packets of the same size coming in, coming out. No harm done. If you're running an exit gateway, then it's another story, as it was said. I want to add one little important nuance. Please drop the link which I just shared here. Read on the project Smoosh FAQ, watch the video, and keep up on date with that. It's really important. We have to do loads of testing to see if it will be required from node operators to connect the exit gateway optionality to the mixed node and allow for all of those nodes at once to be ever part of the active set, or to leave this as an option which will be incentivized by, if you run the exit gateway, you're gonna get higher incentives, high rewards, sorry. You can still run the mixed node, but you get less of rewards. We don't know if it's gonna be one or the other. Loads of testing, loads of discussion to be held, loads of legal research and stuff. So I don't want to give the promise, but you need to keep out on date, because now is the time when going out to the full internet privacy, it will take some changes, and we will be announcing those changes as the time goes.
Cool beans, fantastic conversation, gentlemen, and beautiful questions from the audience. Thank you so much for being with us and asking your questions. I think we have one more open round for any closing thought that you might want to share with the audience here tonight, before I sort of give the usual outro bit about what's coming next and the secret phase. who wants to start? Pomfrek started, so maybe Ginger. How do you pronounce Ginger or
Ginger.
Yeah, okay. So
Ginger.
Ginger, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So just a piece of advice in general. Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I think that crypto space is a space where it actually teaches you by itself responsibility. That's the most important part. That's kind of being responsible of your own funds, of your actions, and so forth. You have to be really careful and responsible. So I would say that guys, you all have to take responsibility for everything that happens to you in the crypto space. Just yourself. It's just you. Nobody else is there to blame if you kind of lose your kind of seed phrase and so on and so forth. So responsibility, and second, also as I mentioned before, keep on experimenting. If you haven't run a node, just make an experiment. 20 bucks, 15 bucks, 10 bucks for a server for 1 month. It's not a big deal. Come on. But you're definitely going to be, like learning stuff. I'm so happy, now looking back. After 3 years, I'm not a tech guy, and I'm run now a tech startup with 11 guys, and we are validators and so forth. I would never even imagine that I would be doing anything like that. And it's just because I was a bit curious and I wanted, just to experiment and see, hey, let's just give it a try. Let's see how it goes. It might not work out, might work out, but I think experimenting and taking shots and moving forward is super important. And again, we're now in crypto space, and crypto space is also like a space of experiments. Everything we see now in crypto, we're actually, super early. Okay, the Bitcoin is like, a bit of like 14 years old or something. And most of the crypto projects are like, few years old. We are super early, and this whole space is experimental space. We now see lots of experiments, of different teams trying to make this blockchain technology kind of really useful to the, to us, to people, to humanity, to different societies. So treat all those projects as just experiments and try to have fun while exploring them. Cooperating with people with different projects, contributing to a bunch of them, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I would say that would be it. Maybe one last thing is that try to kind of maybe to explore several projects in different space, like within the crypto space. We have kind of different areas, like DAOs, we have privacy and so on and so forth. Try to explore just a few projects from different areas. That would be super cool. Yeah, that would be my advice, I would say. Yeah, Pomfrek.
Yeah, I think you said it all there.
But, yes, I actually wanted to say everything, so there's nothing left for you.
Yeah, but I want to touch on the thing that you said at the end, right? But about looking at other different projects, right? This is the thing that makes me love Nym so much, is the fact that I could compare it against all the other projects. And that's what makes it so great, because a lot of them are just building something to be part of blockchain technology. It's not even required.
Exactly.
So, that's what I love about Nym so much, is that I can see that they're actually doing something to help humanity.
Exactly. And all the blockchains, if you see inside, they're all the same. And Nym is actually one of the few projects which is that kind of stands alone. That's why I say, hey, go and check out what some other guys are doing. Maybe at at one specific point in time, they might be giving you a bit of more, of money. It's kind of, sweet and nice. But blockchains are fucking blockchains. And Nym is something has built, something outstanding. That's why Nym is so cool. And when you go, and check, some other projects, and they will say, hey, wait a second, we have like, thousands of blockchains, which pretty much, what is the difference? Name, like, okay, there is like, small difference in like, TPS. Okay, like 10K TPS, 20K TPS, like 25, 20. I mean, okay, that's cool. So yeah,
people should just try.
And just
of
to
course,
chime in,
but try for yourself, yeah.
That's why we all of the four of us are here for that reason, because this is creating real impact and has real potential, and there's real life stuff behind something which blockchain enables. So yeah, super good answers. Thank you, gentlemen. And with that, I just want to pass you, Serinko, the mic again to show something to the audience, maybe.
My closing remarks.
It's session or what?
Yeah, so there's been questions on like, do I have to run a node and these type of things? No, you don't have to. Like, you also are not expected to make your whole saturation all alone. If this is the first time you're sitting here live or you're watching it in some future, and this is the first time you're learning something about Nym, first make research, check other things, and make sure that this is the thing you like and that there are the reasons you like that, right? Check out how it actually works. Don't never in nowhere, especially in crypto. Don't just like throw all your money into something. Then if you do like that, I think it's better to start in a community, join an existing squad or start a squad. Shipyard is a great time for that because we got a whole program for squads, and create your reputation in a community that can be fully anon, if that's what you wish. You do your own research, and you bring some knowledge about the VPS. We've talked about a lot about the hardware, about the regions and the legal advice um, um, in the regions. I've been having a chat, jumping over my slide. And once you decide to go into that, maybe delegate first on a node of somebody else. Somebody has been asking here, no, you don't need to start a node now. That's completely unnecessary. Delegate on somebody else and learn more, test it. The thing itself it's really cheap. You also need 100 names to bond, which with price 0.17, make your calculation, is very cheap. And then finally, when you are decided to spin a node, do it, commit to it, and start with one. Don't start with like 100 and think, oh, I'm gonna have 100x. That's not how it works. We obviously did our research, we did our mathematics, and it's you're gonna get zero reputation. You're not gonna get stake saturation. Never gonna become active. You'll be frustrated. And once you start your node, keep it upgraded. Look what the changes are. Keep part of the community. It's a work. It's not, to run a node. It's not set and forget thing. So look for things like tomorrow. I'll be holding live demo on maintenance and upgrade and operators AMA. Look for perhaps delegation program or create reputation so others delegate on your name. Don't think that you are all alone. Neither don't think you have to start today. You're not late, and you're not expected to be all alone. This is very community-based, decentralized thing. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Serinko. And with that, I just want to thank you all for coming on and sharing your insights and holding this beautiful masterclass. Thank you, Serinko, Pamflake, and Jinja for sharing all these insights and experiences. It's been a really fun one for me, at least. I hope you had fun too. And there's only the last thing to do, and it's going to happen in 3 minutes. So a couple of things to keep in mind. What's next with Shipyard? This is the last week of Shipyard. We only have 3 last sessions. Tomorrow we have a session from 11 a.m. to noon UTC, where the CEO and founder of Aleo, Alex Pruden, gonna join Jaya and maybe even Max together about a talk about how Aleo may be gonna run over Nym and what to know about a privacy-preserving blockchain and how does that benefit from integrating with Nym. And the second one tomorrow, going to be hosted by Serinko between 3 and 4 p.m. UTC with the title Maintaining a Nym Node and Operator AMA. So if there's any other question on your mind or stuff that we haven't touched upon or even more questions, make sure to attend tomorrow's AMA with Serinko and learn more about how to maintain a Nym node and everything about operators need to know. And there's a piece of bad news also, because the other session today, which we were planning to have with Sudo and Jackie about community, that's unfortunately have to be cancelled. As I mentioned, Sudo was feeling a bit under the weather, and this hasn't improved significantly in the last hour, which we kind of know. So we all wish you well, Sudo, get better, and hopefully we can had that session maybe next week another time, along with the other session where me and Marcin was presenting about like a second layer of Nym tokenomics. So there were 2 sessions which we had to cancel amongst all these others that we hold. And keep your eyes peeled on the socials. We're gonna come back with the promised content because we've been preparing and we'll be super happy to share more stuff with you. And but to keep the last news the best news, Shipyard's coming to an end with the graduation ceremony happening on Friday between 3 and 4, again, the usual time slot UTC, with Nym CEO Alexis Russell, hopefully Sudo and myself, where we're going to be announcing the shortlisted applicants for the Ninja and Squad track, and maybe also making not sure about the hackathon announcements. Probably the winners announcements in all 3 tracks going to happen in 2 weeks' time. So we need time to evaluate and need time to look at all the applications, but we're going to announce some shortlisted candidates for sure in the graduation ceremony. And I think the last thing which I haven't said yet, maybe Saul, can you bring up the slide with the POAP magic link? And I want to ask Jinja, because I think you chose the magic word for the secret phrase for okay. So why did you choose what you choose, and what did you choose?
In privacy with trust, because I mean nowadays especially privacy is it's time for humanity to realize that privacy is a fundamental right, and privacy is not needed, just because you want to hide something, but just because you want to have your own private life. It's normal. It's nothing that it's not that we have to fight for it. I mean, it should be just in place. That's basically what Nym is doing. It's just it's just going to have to be by design. That's all. That's why I think it sounds really cool. Privacy with trust.
Loving this POAP magic words. Thank you again. Thank you, Serinko. Thank you, Pamphlet. Thank you, Jinja.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and see you tomorrow. Looking forward to show my purple terminal again.
Can't wait to see that.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
Yeah. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.